Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network. The Women of Golf show is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips magazine. iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, with insightful reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, helping you improve your game from tee to green. Good morning. Welcome to the Women of Golf, the #1 women's golf show around the world, with hosts Ted Odorico and Cindy Miller. Join them as they interview some of the best players from the Epson, LPGA, and Legends Tour, and so many others, helping to elevate women's golf. So without further ado, here are your hosts, Ted and Cindy.
All right, good morning, everybody, once again, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico. Unfortunately, Cindy's not able to make it this morning. She had another prior engagement, so she sends her best to both me, of course, and our very special guest this morning. So as they say, or I have said in the past, I'm batching it this morning here on the Women of Golf. I'm the host, of course, and looking forward to producing another good show for you guys. And hopefully, obviously, you found us where we are. But for those of you that aren't too clear, if you go to blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, that is our main hosting page. And for some reason, if you're not able to tune into the live show, you can visit that link and scroll down to the on-demand section, and you'll see all of the previously aired shows. And today's will be there, as, of course, all the shows are auto-recorded. But we are live now from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the network, so we're glad for those of you tuning in live that you're able to join us. All right, I'm super excited to have, I don't know if I'm as excited as she is, but I'm excited anyways to have this special guest on this morning, another great player from the LPGA Epson Tour. She's a rookie this season, Abegail Arevalo, and she's from the Philippines and is currently, as I said, in her rookie season on the Epson Tour. Previously, she attended San Jose State University, where she played for the Spartans. Her 4 years at San Jose garnered 3 career wins, 14 top 10s, and 6 other top 20 finishes there. She was also honored as on the Dean's Scholar and finished 7th at the 2019 Women's Amateur Asia Pacific Championship. So please welcome my very special guest this morning, Abegail Arevalo. Abegail, thank you for joining me this morning.
Hi, Ted. Yes, of course. Very happy to be.
So, as I said, I know we were just talking off air, and you were saying that you were super excited to coming on, that you've been listening to the show. Actually, you said when you were driving from California on your way to Florida, I'm assuming obviously to play some events. So how long have you been listening? When was that, when you first heard the podcast?
Oh, when was that? May.
Early in the season?
May.
Oh, May.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. And
good.
I particularly listened to Dottie.
Oh, okay. Very good, yeah. And you said you were waiting for your turn, so here you are. You're on, and we're going to talk about some things. So I want to dial back a few years before college, all of that good stuff. What was your early recollection of golf? How did you sort of get introduced to the game? Was it a family member that introduced you, or was it just watching, as we all do on TV, and something just sort of sparked that interest? When was your first recollection of playing, or having an interest in playing?
My first recollection of playing was when I first started learning how to walk. It was just immediate with our family. We're a golfing family. I have 3 older brothers and 1 little sister, and everyone plays golf. My dad used to be a caddy in the Philippines, and then he played a little bit, only locally, and he just influenced our whole family to play golf.
Very good. So did you take lessons right away, or you just sort of, dad sort of helped you out a little bit early on with the game? And then when did you decide, okay, you know what, I really like this, and I think I want to do this a little bit more permanently? When did you decide, or what was the initial thought, if you will, of when you decided to take this a little bit further than just sort of playing with the family and maybe a few friends?
My dad was my coach initially, and then I think when I was 13, we hired a different coach. And then, honestly, I quit golf for a year. I was very burnt out. I played a lot of junior tournaments internationally. I went to the U.S. every summer and played a whole circuit. And I got really burnt out, so I did something else. I took dance lessons. I was a normal student. I went to school every day and did all of that. And then I noticed that I had the opportunity to play for a college here in the U.S. And that's when I knew, I was like, okay, maybe I can pursue this. And then I think my junior year, that's when I was like, oh, I can be good. Let's try and do professional golf.
What was your experience? You played, as I mentioned, for the Spartans. So here you are. You're now on the women's golf team, and you're out there competing against other schools and that. But it's a little bit different because, as you know, now being on the Epson tour, you're out there by yourself. Whereas when you're playing with the Spartans, you're part of a team. Was that an easy transition? Was that a hard transition going from playing on a team to now being on your own?
Oh, it was the most difficult transition. It's just so different. Playing as a team and playing individually is very different. Not only that, the travel. When you're in college, just your coaches do everything for you. You pretty much just show up on the first day. It's like, all right, let's go. In professional golf, like, you have to plan everything. And this year was really difficult for me because I don't know if I'm going to be playing an event or not. I've been an alternate for the longest time this year. Third, second, and alternate. Oh, my gosh, I'm playing. Okay, I have to figure out how to get there. So I couldn't plan ahead compared to the other players. So that was difficult.
Yeah, and I imagine you already touched on this, the travel and arranging for your own travel now is difficult. Is that the most challenging part of tour life now for you, is sort of organizing your own schedule? Is that the most difficult? I mean, obviously it's tough out there, on the golf course too. I don't want to take away from that. But is that the most challenging part, do you think, is sort of having to organize yourself now as opposed to having the coach do that for you?
I don't think it's the hardest part on tour, no. It's just something you kind of have to deal with. I definitely drove the whole United States this year. I don't know if I'm going to do that again next year. But no, there's definitely harder things to deal with on tour.
What were some of the more challenging parts for you? What have been some of the most I mean, you've played now since early this year. What has been some of the challenging parts for you, do you think, out on tour?
I think some of the challenge, definitely the level of golf that we're playing. It's one of the hardest tours in the world. It's different from collegiate golf. They tuck all the pins, like in French Lick. They tucked a lot of pins. It was so challenging and fun, and everybody's good. In collegiate golf, there's no cut. On the Epson tour and all professional tours, unfortunately, there's a cut, and you kind of have to deal with that. Everyone's good.
Yeah, you're now elevated certainly to a much higher level of game. You mentioned French Lick, and last week, of course, we had a very special guest on who was just getting ready to play French Lick, and of course, they moved it from the Donald Ross to the Dye course this year, so it's a little bit more challenging. How did you find it? I know obviously you didn't play on it last year, but was it extremely challenging? I mean, I know it's very hilly and the greens are pretty tough and fast. How did you find your play? If you were to assess your overall play this last week at French Lick, how do you feel you played during the event?
You know what? I feel really great, Ted. The work I've put in with my mentor coach, John Kennedy, there's a lot of improvement. And it was just such a difficult course. And what made it even more difficult were the delays. So my 4 days went from playing 12 holes the first day, playing 6 holes the second day. The third day, I played 30 holes. And then the final round, I played 24 holes. It was hot. I carried my own bag. It was a tough hike. So it's mentally and physically tiring. And I don't want to say you have to be patient out there, because when you're patient, I don't like the word patient because you're dealing with something you don't like at the moment.
Right.
I enjoyed
right.
every single moment out there. You kind of have to be present. You kind of have to be present and just focus on what you're doing in front of you because we dealt with long days out there.
Yeah, you have to sort of muster up the strength, the inner strength, if you will, to sort of power through. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, there's going to be some great days out there. The ball striking is going to be great. The putts are going to roll in. And then there's going to be days where, let's be honest, it's going to kind of suck. I mean, you're going to be out there, you're carrying your bag, it's hot, rain delays, all of these things throwing at you, but that's part of being a touring professional. That's some of the hills, if you will, and valleys that you're going to be going in and out. If you were to assess your overall performance since turning sort of becoming a rookie on the Epson Tour this year, how do you feel so far this year? Are you happy? You mentioned some of the changes and things that you're working on, you're excited about. But overall, are you happy with where you are right now? Obviously, everybody wants to be better than where they are. But overall, are you happy with your performance so far this season?
I like that question because it's a very general, broad. I'm definitely happy with all the things I'm working on with my team. I'm very fortunate to work with a very great team. Definitely performance is not there. Me and my whole team knows that. But it can always be better anyway.
Right.
It's a tough question, Ted.
Well, let me rephrase it this way then. There's always areas of your game that are going to need improvement. I don't care what level. Even Tiger Woods, always said that there were always things that he was working on and trying to improve. So even, when you're the best player in the world, at times there's going to be things that are going to challenge you. So what's challenging you right now? What parts of your game are giving you the greatest challenges? And then maybe also talk about some of the areas of your game that you feel we're never going to master them, but you feel, okay, these are pretty solid right now. I'm confident with these, but here's some areas that I still need to really work on.
I think I would just say probably my mental game, because my game has always been there. It's always going to be there, but it's, trying to deal with a different environment, I think, was the main challenge in the beginning of my rookie season on the Epson Tour. So, just I've been working a lot with my mentor again, and, there's nowhere else but through it. So I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah. And what's interesting about the sort of the mind game, if you will, is you're in good company, because every player that we've ever interviewed, that talked to here on the program, have all said the same thing. That is probably the most challenging part of their game. And we had, and I've said this probably 1,000 times, I'm sure the listeners are probably sick of me talking about this, but I think it raises a very valid point. Several years ago, we had a group of young ladies in a row. We had about 4 or 5, maybe 6 girls from, at that time it was the Smetra, but had come on the show and had won their first event. And what was interesting, every one of them had the same story, is that they were struggling, they were really out there grinding it, working hard, but they just couldn't seem to make it happen. And they said that they didn't feel, there was a point in time where they just didn't feel like they were having fun anymore. It was just becoming too hard, too much of a struggle. And then a switch sort of went off inside in their minds, and they said, you know what, I'm just going to go out. I know I've got a good game, just like you said a moment ago. You know that your game's there, but mentally it hasn't been. So I'm just going to go out and I'm going to have fun, and whatever happens, happens. And what was interesting is every single one, and I'm not exaggerating, you can go back and listen in the archives, every single one of the girls said the same thing. The very next week they won. Is that,
wow.
Do you think maybe yeah. So there's power in what we say to ourselves internally. So why I'm saying that to you is, if you feel through your own analysis that it's not the game, that there's the mind game, maybe negative self-talk, whatever, and I'm not saying that you are, do you think that maybe if you change that strategy in your mind and said, you know what, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to have fun. I know I've got a good game. Yeah, I'm going to keep working on the things I need to work with my team, but I'm just going to go out there and have fun and enjoy the process and just really soak in everything that, the golf course, the environment, all that kind of stuff, and just go out and have fun. Do you think that might help make a difference for you?
It already did. In French Lake. And I don't know if you followed my performance. I missed 4 cuts in a row. And then finally making the cut in French Lake. I was just so happy. I didn't even realize it. But definitely me and my mentor, it's just, I don't know. It just kind of, it's like, what's holding you back, right? So I just kind of went out there and played. It's so easy to say, too.
It's. I think this is, truthfully, this is one of the most challenging parts for a touring professional. I mean, the travel, it can get to you after a while, and the weather can sometimes play, havoc with your mind, especially with delays. It throws you off your balance, so to speak, and can sometimes, for some players, can even throw them off their game entirely. But you can always find a way to work around that. But when it comes to, your enjoyment of it, obviously you're there because you do enjoy playing this game and you like playing at a high competitive level. But sometimes those negative thoughts creep in. So what do you say to yourself when you're out there in the golf course and you're schlepping that bag around and the rain's coming down and things are just not? What do you say to yourself internally to sort of flip that switch and say, okay, come on, girl, we got to get moving forward. We got some more birdies to go after.
Oh, I love this question. Obviously, there's some negative talk, like after a bad shot, I pulled it, and then the margin of error is very tiny on a peat-like course. So if you pull it a little bit, block it a little bit, you're not going to be on the green or you're not going to be in the fairway. I allow myself to get mad internally. I don't really show when I'm mad out there. And then I get over it. I pick up my bag, take a walk. I enjoy the scenery. And I stay zen. I stay present. I was like, okay, Abby, breathe. I meditate a lot, so I kind of just reframe my mind to that relaxation when I'm meditating. So I kind of bring it to the course. It's like, okay, I'm relaxed now. Here's a new shot. I'm just going to focus on this. Staying present. I'm big on that.
Yeah, that's so true because, a very good friend of mine has always said, and I agree with him, is you can't change the past. So whatever bad shot may have happened, you don't get a do-over. And the future hasn't happened yet, so the next shot hasn't happened yet, so all there is the present, which is right now, so the shot at hand. So as you walk up, even if you've hit a bad shot, as you walk up, that bad shot, you have to, certainly, as you say, get angry, whatever emotion you need to expel it very quickly, and then you need to move on, and now you've got a brand new shot. It's like a whole new shot all over again that you get to play, and even if it ends up being a bad shot too, that's okay because you've got 18 holes that you're playing and you've got multiple rounds that you're playing in a tournament. So there's lots of golf ahead of you. And I think this is where a lot of amateurs really struggle. I mean, some of them can hit a pretty good ball, but then they get out there and they're sort of a self-defeated attitude and get down. So I'm like you. I'm a firm believer in, dealing with the bad shot in the moment, but then getting over it. I always equate this, and this is another, I'm sure the audience is probably rolling their eyes thinking he's not going to talk about this again, but I am. I always equate it to going to the airport. When you're at the airport, what do you see? You see people dragging their baggage all the way around the airport. They're just lugging their baggage. And I equate that to a lot of amateur golfers is they've got, 3 or 4 bags. They're schlepping around around the airport. And what the metaphor that I'm talking about is it's every bad shot they've ever hit. Inside those bags is every bad shot they've ever hit, and they're bringing it to every new shot that they have before them. So I always say, check your bags. Check your bags in after each time you go to the airport. Check your bags in, and then you're free to do whatever you want in the airport. You're not lugging those around. And it's the same thing with the bad shot. Check the bad shots. It's done. It's over with. You don't have to worry about it, and let's go on to something new. And that's how I sort of frame it and sort of analyze it and that. So you had a great tournament this past weekend. You made the cut, and you went on and played. What was your strategy? Obviously, you wanted to make the cut, but what was your strategy? You knew you were going to play a course that you probably were not familiar with and that. when you have that happen to you, when you're playing a new facility you've never played before, obviously you have opportunities for a practice round or so. What do you say to yourself going in? What do you look for? What is it that you do to prepare yourself as best you can?
Let's see. Well, I have a whole routine now. I make sure I don't play more than 18 holes. I figured that out after playing a couple events on the Epson tour. I have a whole routine. I take videos on a Tuesday, and then on Wednesday was the pro-am. I was not part of it. What's Thursday? Okay, sorry, I don't remember the dates anymore.
Thursday was the first day of the tournament. Yep.
Oh, Thursday was the first day of the tournament. Okay, Thursday. Well, I just kind of get out there and take as good notes as possible, and I just keep it simple. Just hit it to the fairway, middle of the green, make the putt or not. I don't know. How do I prepare myself? I think that I've done all the preparations, and once I get to the tournament, I kind of just play. I don't think much of it. I trust it. I trust everything that I do, and just be confident out there.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Now, are you a player, because some do and some don't, are you a player that whenever there's an opportunity you check the scoreboard, or you're interested to see how other players, some people like to know where they're at. Is that something that sort of creeps into your game, or it's like, no, full steam ahead, I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'll look at the end of the round?
This is so funny because when I talk to Dottie Ardina, she's pretty much my big sister. She told me when she won in Utah, she did not look at the leaderboard at all. So then when I started playing on the Epson, she's like, Abby, just don't look at the leaderboard. And then I did look at the leaderboard, and it actually makes me nervous. So that I know now. But this week I looked at the leaderboard, and it didn't make me nervous at all. So I think I have mixed emotions about it. I was not in contention this week, so I think maybe that's why it didn't make me nervous. Right. I was just curious as to where the cut was. And it actually went up. It went to 4 over. But I think if I was in contention, I wouldn't look at the leaderboard. No.
Yeah, I think there is an appropriate time to sort of keep an eye out on things. I mean, again, especially if you're in contention, it can help you decide on a particular shot. You know, do I be a little bit more aggressive here, or do I need to sort of lay back and protect? You know, if you've got the lead or you're close to it and you don't want to lose a stroke, I can see where that would be very valuable. But you're right. I think a lot of people get caught up in the numbers, as it were, and where everybody's at. And then if they see that they're not in a good spot, well, then they just, I've got no, and it sort of loses that momentum. I think you have to just play as hard and as best you can throughout the event and let the chips fall where they may. Either you have a great tournament or maybe sometimes not a great tournament, but it's always a learning experience. That's the way I look at it. It's always a learning experience for you, and you get an opportunity to reflect and say, okay, yeah, I like that. Not that maybe I don't like so much, but that's okay. I learned from it. I'm going to do this better next time, or I'm going to work on that part of my game a little bit more. So there's always learning opportunities every time you tee it up. What do you like to do for fun? When you're not on the golf, don't tell me golf. When you're on the golf course, that's a job, that's work, and yes, it can be fun. But what do you like to do when you're not playing golf?
What do I like to do? I love food. I like trying different places to eat. I'm very passionate about food. I like traveling and trying out new foods.
Now, do you prefer just to go out and find a good restaurant maybe that you haven't tried, or do you like to? Like, the reason why I ask this is because a lot of the young ladies that we've had, a lot of them like to cook themselves. A lot of them just love, mixing up, some crazy dish and even when they're out on tour, sometimes, if they're in a situation where they can whip something up, they love doing that and kind of experimenting. Do you like to do that sometimes too, or you just know, I want to go out and I want to be served. I want to go to the restaurant. I want to just relax with some friends or family, what have you, and I want to be served. I don't want to have to worry about, preparing the meal myself.
If I'm at an Airbnb for the week, usually I like to cook, but I like to try out different places as well.
Good. I think that's good.
Yeah.
What about other activities besides golf? Are there other sports and things that you enjoy doing, or maybe hiking or something? Is there other activities besides golf that you like to do, and besides eating?
Well, I really think that the food thing is a hobby. Like, I really, like, I take notes and everything. Like, if I weren't playing golf, I think I would be a food critique. I can definitely see myself, like, being on a Netflix show and just, like, traveling and just, like, reviewing all these places. But to answer your question, I also like going on hikes. I'm based in California, and there's a lot of good hikes over here.
I can see that. Yeah, for sure. A lot of great places. I've been to California a number of times, and it's a beautiful state. A lot of great places to visit. The beach, of course, is one. That's obviously a big one for those in California. Got to be careful of the sharks, though. A lot of sharks coming around there, and especially up in the Northeast. So you got to keep your eye out for that. And stay away, and also stay away from the seals too. They don't like you getting too close. No, I think it's good, and you have to have some downtime. From golf, because you're out there, you're battling it with some of the best young ladies coming up through the ranks, and you've got to have a break from that. You've got to be able to decompress from that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a real quick break and hear a message from Golf Tips Magazine, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to ask you some questions on ways that maybe you can help some of the amateurs that might be tuning into the show, how you can help them with their game. So we'll be right back.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple to follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, welcome back, and I'm with my very special guest, Abegail Arevalo from the Epson Tour, and we have been talking about her game a little bit, but now we're going to see if we can help your game. A few tips from the pro, as it were. So, Abegail, let me ask you, just before we took that quick break, I said I wanted to sort of pick your brains, if you will, on how we could help some of our amateur golfers. So you obviously have played in some amateur events, pro-am events, as it were, and you see a lot of our higher handicap players, I guess is putting it politely, out there. What are some of the, first off, what are some of the common mistakes that you see them making? So when you see them coming up there, what are some of the common errors that you see them making in their game?
Well, I think it's just high expectations, and then they get very frustrated, easily frustrated.
Yeah, I agree. I think they sort of raise the bar a little higher than maybe what they need to right away, and certainly you want to aspire to a higher level game, but at the same time you want to be realistic with where your game is at. So is it important, do you think, and I'm sure you do this yourself, is it important for them to set some goals? Obviously have an ultimate goal. Hey, maybe it's to break 100, maybe it's to break 90, this season or what have you. But is it also important to set some little goals that are a little bit more achievable along the way to help them on the way to the bigger goal?
Yes. I think that's a good thing, looking at their scoring average, but I think being more purposeful in their practice, I think goes a long way. So just like doing drills like focusing on the process more, and then all of a sudden the results will fall. I think just sticking to like a more purposeful practice.
All right, so I want you to put your coaching hat on right now. I want you to take away the player hat, and I want you to put on your coaching hat. And if you had a young lady that is interested in really learning to play this game and really wanted to get out there and challenge herself, what would the conversation be like between you and her? What would you say to her? What were some of the early things that you would say to her to help her get on the right track?
It's for a young lady.
Yes. And you can any age, doesn't matter, whatever.
Ooh. Just like get out there and have fun. Trust it, and just work hard. That's all I'm gonna say. Just work hard.
All right, let me ask you. No, listen, it's not. It's this is the thing. What's always very interesting to me is you're a player, so in your mindset, you already know. You've already conditioned yourself. It's very difficult sometimes to relay that information as a player and through a coach's eyes, because they're looking at things a little bit differently. They're looking at the process and all of the cogs in the wheel, as they say, for you to get to where you are. You're working through it from a different perspective. So I want to ask you this. You mentioned just a moment ago about some drills and things like that. So are there some specific drills and maybe even some training aids that you've used to help you along your way, and maybe even continue to use, that really help you understand your swing and help guide you to a better playing experience? What are some drills that you like to do?
Definitely. The first thing that comes to mind, it's not necessarily a drill, but I like to put an alignment rod in, like, where my target is, like in front of the ball. Like, I know that everyone puts an alignment rod, like, parallel to the target. I also do that, but I actually, like, align from the ball to the target. And from there, I get more aware of where I exit my hands. And it's just such a simple thing, but it's just the awareness, target awareness. And what else? Yeah. With putting, I like just try to make sure I roll the ball to my target, like pick a spot and roll it over that spot. So kind of like a gate drill. And then a couple of speed drills, being 10%, like putting to 10% of the length of the putt. So let's say if it's a 10-footer, just trying to putt it to 1 foot. It's hard to explain. So
right. No, I understand.
Like speed drills.
Right. We don't have the visual here, so I know it can be very difficult. So obviously there'd be some putting drills that you would have them do to help give them a sense of feel for distance and speed and so forth. And then obviously, in the big swing, and obviously it would apply for the putting as well, but you use an alignment stick or alignment rod to be able to help you isolate where the target is, where you're wanting the ball to go. So that's important. And that's something interesting too, Abegail, because a lot of amateurs don't. I mean, you've seen this, you go to the driving range and it's the old raking the ball, hitting one, raking another ball, hitting another ball, and they don't really have any sense of, as you put it, purpose in their practice. So what would you do differently, or what would you have them do differently in their practice? Because, again, we see that all the time, and I know you've seen it probably many times, where they just get up there and they're hitting ball after ball. They're not doing it. There's no pre-shot routine, for each shot. When you practice, so start with yourself. When you practice, do you go through your pre-shot routine every time, most of the time? How do you do it? And is that something that you would try to get them to incorporate when they're practicing? Go with yourself first.
So with myself, I actually practice all my routines with ball striking, putting, and chipping. So I have routines for 3 of those. I actually write down all my routines before every tournament. And I practice all of my routines, and I try to do them perfectly. It's just some kind of tool that me and my mentor have been working on. And then what was the next question?
What does the pre-shot routine do for you that maybe amateurs don't understand? It's not just, it's more than just a routine. I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe what it is in addition to getting you into a routine, it helps relax you in preparation for the shot. So in other words, it gets you thinking about what you need to think, or not thinking too much, but it gets you prepared. And it's an opportunity for you to maybe take some deep breaths, relax, get yourself calmed down, and prepared for that next shot. Is that what it does for you, or does it do something different?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the routine, it helps you. It's kind of a tool. It's a muscle memory thing. It's like, okay, if I waggle 3 times, I know I'm going to hit a good shot. It's a muscle memory thing. It's like, oh, okay, this feels right. Now I'm going to hit the shot, and it's going to be good. And it's also a tool that me and my mentor has been working on. It's not a distraction, but it's more of like being present. It's like, okay, I'm going to look at the target 4 times, and if I do that, I'm going to hit a good shot. And you kind of just trust it and be confident about that.
What happens, Abegail, if you fall out of that routine? So let's say the first few shots, you're right on target, you're hitting that routine every time, but maybe shot number 4, let's say, or number 3 was not so good, and you don't do the exact same routine. You do something slightly different. Instead of 3 waggles, you do 2 waggles or something. If you get out of that pre-shot routine, what does that do for you? Does that cause you to sort of not feel right at the moment and get you sort of off kilter a little bit?
So my mentor coach rather, tells me to play captain back off. If one single thing does not feel right, back off. I know we only have 30 seconds to hit a shot on the Epson tour, but for pace of play, but play captain back off. If I didn't wear my glove correctly, just a simple thing. If there's a bug in front of me that I have to pick up, I'm going to go captain back off and do the routine all over again until it feels right. Because in the back of my head, I was like, oh, my target here doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. So then the shot's not going to be good because all of a sudden you're thinking about it. But if you do it every single step perfectly, 3 waggles, look at the target 4 times, whatever it is that you wrote down or I wrote down, I'm going to stick to that.
Yeah, I think it's very important. And, we've seen even tour players, it doesn't matter whether it's the PGA or the LPGA, you can almost sense when something's not right. You all hit a bad shot. I mean, nobody, I don't care what level of player you are, everybody hits a bad shot from time to time, a lot more often than probably what most people realize, because we're seeing it through an edited lens on television. So we're not seeing all the bad shots. We may be seeing occasional bad shot, but during a round, we don't see a player that might hit 4 or 5 bad shots. So it's not really realistic. But what you often see is they will get out of the routine. If you start to see a player, maybe it's the pressure that's, they're in the lead. We've seen that where they've, several strokes in the lead, and then all of a sudden it's like the wheels fell off the bus, and you're trying to figure out what's going on here. And a lot of times if they get that, maybe their nerves have gotten to them, they've gotten out of the routine. So when you get out of your routine, how do you snap yourself back into it? What do? You back off, obviously, during the moment. But let's say it's carried over several holes. What do you say to yourself, and what would be some good advice that you'd like to give for the amateur players out there if they find themselves in that same situation?
Okay, so first I want to mention that having a perfect routine that you cultivated before a tournament, the routine is a tool so that you don't have doubt in your mind. It's a tool that you kind of have something to focus on so that you don't have the pressures and doubt and you're not thinking about the results of the shot. So instead, you're very focused on the routine, and that's it. You just hit the shot. So if I get out of it, let's say I don't have a powerful routine, it means I'm really bored of the routine. So then me and my mental coach creates a different routine. But it's a really weird concept that not everyone's going to understand. But it's just something you have to trust, and it's something that I do. It's not something for everyone, but definitely for amateurs. It's just the consistency. It's just having good consistency out there goes a long way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I watched this past winter, December actually, when they had the final week of the Q Series. It happened to be in an area where I am, and of course I'm talking about the LPGA. And I watched a lot of young players that were, every morning I went there early because I wanted to catch a lot of them before they actually got out and played. So I would go up to the practice range and I would watch them work on their routines. And what was really interesting that I never see, or almost never see, the amateurs do is some of what you were talking about. Number one, I never see them working with alignment sticks or alignment rods. I never see them working with any putting tools or aids of that kind or doing any specific drills. And the other thing, I never see the majority of, now some do, but the very vast majority, I never see them working through some sort of a pre-shot routine. They just, as I said earlier, they get up there and they hit and rake the balls. So this is why, obviously, you gals have a lot of practice. You get out and work, every week, not just playing, but you actually work on your games, probably to the point of exhaustion sometimes, I'm sure. But you're out there working on it. And obviously every amateur doesn't have that same luxury. But it's practicing with a purpose, as you said. You make the most of the time that you do have. So whether it's an hour a week, 2 hours, whatever it is. And I think also, would you agree that a lot of amateurs go up and they spend a lot of time at the range, but they don't get out and play a lot and put a lot of those things that they need to work on to practice when they're out there playing? Do you think a lot of amateurs need to get out and quit hitting, golf balls at the driving range all the time, but actually get out there on the golf course and put it into practice? What are your thoughts?
I think that, when I was younger, well, as an amateur, you just have so much energy, so you can go out there and smack so much balls and hit 100 balls or whatever. But now when you're on the Epson tour or whatever tour that you're in, you're playing 3-4 weeks in a row, and you kind of have to save your energy. It's so tiring. But back to your question, practicing what you're going to do out there in the course, that's the question, right?
Yes.
I think it's a waste if you're not practicing what you're going to do out there. It's a big waste. It's like, why practice something you're not going to do in the course anyway? So practicing your routine, it's muscle memory again.
Mm-hmm.
It's muscle memory.
One of the biggest pet peeves, if I could put it that way, that a lot of amateurs have when it comes to practice is it's boring. Do you do, and obviously you're, let's be honest, it's like anything. It's like baking a cake. Everybody loves eating the cake, but it's the, mixing the ingredients and it's whipping things together and throwing it in the oven and doing this, that, and the other. That's not the fun part for some people. Some people maybe it is, but for the most part, the fun part is eating the cake. So for you, are there things that you do to try to make it fun during your practice? Because, again, you're not, before you actually play an event, you're not out there for, 3 hours on the practice tee. You're warming up and you're getting ready for that day's round. But when you're actually working with your coaches and your team and you're actually in a practice session, I would assume that there are probably certain things that you do to try to make it a little more fun, a little more interesting. Otherwise, you're going to get bored. So are there some things that you like to do that maybe might help somebody else that keep it a little bit more interesting during the practice? Personally,
I think with my training, it's never boring. So if I were to tell someone, I guess an advice on what to do, well, a golf shot, you're never going to hit like a flat lie, perfect lie, straight shot to the green. You can literally go out in the range and practice your low shots, your fade, your draw, and challenge yourself. Start from this spin and end to this spin with a draw. Just trying out new shots. Going out in the chipping area, going to the bunker and purposely plugging it and hitting a fried egg shot. Because you're going to have shots out there. In French Lick, there were so many divots out there. And I have been practicing, shots in the divot, just challenging yourself. Constantly challenging yourself. It's never going to be boring. There's so many things you can do. And it's also going to make you a better player.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I teach golf, and one of the things that I try to get my students, and Cindy, of course, teaches as well, is practice shots that you're actually going to 90% of the time or 99% of the time are going to be faced with, like hitting out of a divot. The other thing I try to do when I go for my own practice, which isn't as much as I'd like it to be just because I'm busy with everything else, but is I try to find a part of the range, and happens to be where I go is there's multiple levels. So there's, one level of the range, and it goes up, and there's another level, and so on and so forth. And I'll actually go to the very end, and I will get to, as long as there's nobody, in front of me, is I will go to the back part of that level I'm on where there's a bit of a downslope. And I'll actually drop a few balls there and hitting as though I'm hitting a downhill shot. And then sometimes I'll even go to the very far side where there's a little bit of a side hill, and I will do the same thing. I'll put a ball below my feet, and I'll hit some shots to the green or to a target like that as well, because those are shots I know I'm going to be faced with when I get out there. And if you're hitting from a perfectly flat lie all the time, that's great. It's nice. It can be fun, but it's not realistic because, again, 99% of the time, good luck finding a flat spot out in the fairway. That just doesn't happen very often. And I think that's something, right, that a lot of players, amateur players particularly really struggle with. And I think too, you said that you really have to focus on, again, a pre-shot routine, getting a pre-shot routine that works for you. That's probably a big one because, again, we see so many players, and I'm, again, talking about the amateurs that don't do that. And it really throws you off. It's surprising how much it can throw you off. As far as, I guess, from the mental side of the game, that really applies to everybody. But if you had some tips, maybe some advice that you would do there, what would be some things that you would have them say to themselves? Again, if you're putting on your coach's hat here for a moment, what would the conversation be like that when it comes to the mind game? Because that's where really most people, even professionals, really struggle with is the mind game. I mean, most of them can learn how to hit a really good shot, but the mental game is what really holds them back sometimes. What would that conversation be like if you had a student in front of you?
If I had a student in front of me, I would tell them, hey, I believe in you as your coach. I believe in you. Your whole family believes in you. Your friends believe in you. But by the end of the day, you got to believe in yourself. And if you don't, you shouldn't be out there.
Right. I agree. And I think it's, there's a lot of, Cindy, I'm sure if she was here, would ask you this question because she works, with a lot of variety of different levels of player, but she works with a lot of juniors who want to play, whether it be collegiate, want to play, maybe eventually professional. If you had a young, let's say, 9, 10-year-old girl in front of you that is looking up to you and saying, I want to do what you want to do. I want to go and hopefully get into a good college, be able to play. I want to be able to, eventually get on tour. What would your advice be to them?
I would be like, just keep at it. Play as much tournaments as you can over the summer and just work hard and have fun with it. Just have fun with it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What about those that, because you mentioned this was something that happened to you very early on, is there came a point where you got a little burnt out to the point where you actually walked away a little bit from golf. What would your advice be there to prevent them from doing the same thing? I mean, everybody has to go on their own journey. I realize that, but if you, in hindsight, looking back to drawing from your own personal experiences, one of the things that we see with a lot of juniors is they're grinding and working so hard and they just want it so bad, but sometimes they don't stop to sort of smell the flowers. What would you say to them to help them not sort of get burnt out too much? What advice would you give them there?
I think in my experience, it's just I was being too much of a perfectionist, and I was just so revolved around results, and it's just so tiring, Ted. Like, I would just tell them to just focus in the process. It's such a cliche, and they're probably going to hate me for saying that. Just focus on the process, and that's all you can do. And you got to be okay with, I don't want to say failing. My mental coach hates that word. You got to be okay with falling short from your goals. And you got to be okay with having fun with that. And I've seen myself having fun with that, so I'm really happy.
Well, and I think, as I mentioned earlier, you have to be able to use those opportunities where you fall a bit short, as you said, as a learning opportunity. Okay, what did I do differently here that I didn't do yesterday. Yesterday I played, solid in this area. My putting was really sound, and the putts were rolling in. But then today it's kind of streaky. So obviously you're not going to tinker with too much out in the golf course during the round because it could make it worse. But maybe that's an opportunity after the round to say, okay, I'm going to go back to the putting green and I'm going to take a look at the process again. Maybe there's something I'm doing differently today than what I was doing yesterday. Is that an accurate statement, do you think?
It's accurate because, you know what, when you fall short of your goals, let's say you have a bad week, it's easier to dissect what you did when you fall short of your goals. And then you just go from there, reframe your mind, and then see what you can do and try to be better.
Yeah, I think so. And whether you aspiring like you are to play at the highest level, or you just want to go out there and have fun with your friends and maybe coworkers and that, I think it's just ultimately the word is fun. Is you want to go out and enjoy it, because if you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying it, that's when it really, as I said earlier, kind of sucks, because you're just out there and you're beating yourself up all the time and you're just not enjoying yourself. And it sounds to me like you came to that realization very early on in your career that you said, you know what, hey, I know I've got to work and I've got to really put the effort in if I want to play at this level, and that's a given. If you're going to play at the level that you're playing at, you've got to get up there and do your homework, as it were. But at the same time, you have to enjoy the process that gets you there. And when you get there, when you're out on tour and you're out playing in an event, you got to remember to have fun and not be so caught up in the numbers and not, the scoreboard, let it, lead you on your path. You've got to stick to the process that you and your team have been working on that whole season, and go out there each and every event and do the same thing and trust the process. Would that be accurate as well?
Yes, very accurate. It's the balance. It's the triangle of balance. It's learning, having fun, and performing. When you're constantly learning and having fun, the results are going to fall in. It's going to come.
I couldn't agree more. I think I should be writing this stuff down. There could be a book here. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm really enjoying with these conversations. I love talking about the power of the mind, and people don't realize how powerful our minds are, and it's a tool. It's a tool not only in golf but also in life.
Yeah. You took the words right out of my mouth. I've said this my whole life. I started playing golf very early on. My father took me out to the range first, and then out to the course, and walked me through all the things that I needed to know. But he said to me very early on, he said, "You're going to find one of the things about this particular game is it mimics life in so many ways. You're going to have good times, you're going to struggle, you're going to have successes and happiness and joy, and there's going to be some times where you're going to feel like thumping that club into the ground and whatnot." And he says it's how you handle those situations, both good and bad, that is going to serve you well in your everyday life experiences as well. And he was exactly right. We all get frustrated and perplexed, if you will, during the difficult times, and very elated and excited and happy during the good times. But we have to find a balance in our life, because there's going to be both. And I think it sounds like you've got a good head on your shoulders and surrounded by a very competent and loving team that is keeping you on the straight and narrow, as they say. And I think you've got a very successful career ahead of you. And I want to wish you all of the best. And I want to especially thank you, Abegail, for taking time and joining me this morning here on the Women of Golf.
Of course, Ted. It was so much fun.
All right. Well, I hope you'll come back and join us again. We'd love to have you. Maybe we'll get Dottie to come on with you, and you and your bestie can come and talk about some other experiences that you've had together as well. But on that note, thank you again for joining me this morning, and good luck the rest of the season, and let us know how you do.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you so much.
All right. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. That was my very special guest, LPGA Epson Tour rookie Abegail Arevalo from the Philippines, joining me this morning here on the Women of Golf, and very insightful, I think, listening to her, and I think she shared some very good information. For those of you that maybe tuned a little bit later in the broadcast, I would strongly urge you to go back and listen to the entire broadcast again. I think she laid out some very interesting approaches. A lot of people don't understand, especially at the amateur level, really what these pros go through, and I think she laid it out very well. So if you want to hear that in its entirety, go to blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, and you can scroll down to the on-demand section. You can listen to it in its archive form or recorded form, and that'll be available shortly after the end of the broadcast. So make sure you do that. And there's also some great interviews prior to that as well in the archive section. So make sure you check out some of the older records as well, if you will, on some of the other players that we've had on the show. I think you'll find some very interesting information and some interesting discussions there as well. On that note, I want to thank you all for joining me this morning here on the Women of Golf. And again, Cindy sends her apologies for not being able to make it this week, but understandable. Sometimes these things happen. So we'll see her next week and another very special guest here on the Women of Golf. God bless everybody and have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed listening to this week's Women of Golf show. Ted and Cindy wish to thank this week's special guests. Remember to join them every Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the iGolf Sports Network or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. To get updates on the show, you can follow the Women of Golf's Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Women of Golf. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.